Hi, this is Ann Holmes with No Sewing Until You Quilt It. I wanted to show you our progress on Springtime in the Mountains. The first, we've designed this quilt in 5 units, and we started with the long sides. I wasn't sure what colors that I wanted to use. I had some pretty springtime fabrics, and so we built the 2 long sides first. And we just completed the center. This will be the center unit. And now I want to show you, we still have 2 short sides to do. All right, this is the first of 2 short sides that we're building. Okay, after comparing this with what our long sides look like, this really needed to come out. It's too much blue. As Rachel says, the yellow in here gives your eyes a place to rest. So all I'm going to do is just peel this back because there's no sewing in it yet. I can just gently pull that up. Some of this is coming up too. It can stay together. It's all together. So I'll pull that back and then come on over the other side and pull that up. Just keep your hands supporting. You don't want to just rip it up. And then we still have to take these out here too. So we'll just work our way down a piece at a time. Just pulling that up. All right. And then we're going to very carefully remove this. So see, I'm just supporting that French fuse so I don't tear it. I don't jerk it up. I'm just gently supporting the French fuse. You can kind of hear it come up. So we'll just get rid of that. All right, now we have this piece to replace. So what I'm going to do is put some glue stick around these exposed edges because that really had gone down first. Just in an outward motion all around the square here. This is really a nice technique in that you can edit your work, and if you don't like something, you can replace it without ripping out any seams. So with the pattern piece on there, we know where this has to be positioned. I think I did that side already. All right, so you put this in here, and you just lift up these pieces. You can find your lines. Line that up, line that up, and line that up. So then you can put these down in the order that they, let's see, just tug that a little bit that way. So just bring this down just a bit and put that down. Smooth that out. And then put that down and this down. And then we're going to use the sealing iron and seal it all down. The seam allowances give us just a little fudge factor room. I could reposition this, but it's just fine. So you just use the heat of the iron to make sure that it is sealing that down. And now we'll take that piece out. I'll just seal it down again. I usually, on these big pieces when I'm pulling off, I like to support everything with the sealing iron rather than just pulling it off. This kind of supports everything. All right, when we've removed all of our pattern pieces, then I like to press it with a big iron so it's nice and hot to make sure everything is secure. All right, now I'm going to remove the French fuse from our working drawing. We'll leave the working drawing in place and we'll build our second short side with it. All right, so now we're just taking this off. This is one of the short sides. And our working drawing is still in place. And I wanted to show you how I adapted from our long sides with these ends on them. I just cut these off. This was here. I just cut these off with the scissors on the finished edge of the quilt. So I just took a scissors and cut both ends off to make a short side. And we're able to use these very same pattern pieces. And again, will be the fourth time that we use those freezer paper patterns. What I did then to give it a new, we just had to add on an extra 1/2 inch on the two sides. So I just taped some pink paper there and then just drew an extra 1/2 inch. And that's where our seam allowances will be. And we'll talk more about that later on. But now we're ready to put French fuse again. All right, then we put our next piece of French fuse right over the working drawing and extend it over here a little bit because we're going to tape it to the working drawing and also to the table so it doesn't slide. It's just floating over the top. We're not going to try to stretch it. And I'm just going to cut off a little excess that I have here. It'll save it for a small project. One of the things I wanted to tell you is you should put registration marks on all your the freezer paper patterns before you cut them apart. I didn't do that. I was in a hurry to get going with this, so I've just very carefully had to follow my lines, lining things up. So, but I want to remind people that it's always a good idea to put the registration marks on your freezer paper copy before you cut it all apart. But now we're placing these pattern pieces on our drawing, and that will help us select our fabric so we can just pick up our pattern pieces and put them on the fabric that we want to use in these places. Because we cut this long side off to create the short patterns, because this section is exactly the same as it is in the long sides, we had to make 3 new pattern pieces on each side because we needed to add that extra 1/2 inch. So those 3 pieces on each side had to be replaced because it adds the extra 1/2 inch we needed for the seam allowances. But I also wanted to show you, sometimes your pattern piece might tear when you're pulling this off. And this one isn't torn very bad, but it would iron down flat and be just fine. But if you do need to repair a piece, you can remember the beige masking tape because you can see through it and you can iron over the top of it. So I'm just taking a little tape there just to mend that pattern piece. Now we're ready to iron our fabric to the pieces. Okay, this is what our first short side looks like, and now we're building the second short side. I laid out all my patterns, and then just by checking where I placed all the colors, and then I'm cutting this out, adding a seam allowance to every pattern piece with my magic button. So thanks for watching. We'll continue this next time.